I call this April 21st, 2026, Creedmoor Commissioner Board meeting to order. First we'll start with our invocation by Mayor Pro Tem Ms. Wilkins.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, our God, we come before your presence right now in the name of Jesus. We ask, Father God, that your Holy Spirit would be in this place. We invoke your Spirit right now in the very name of Jesus. We pray, Father God, you will cover this meeting and grant us unity, grant us peace, give us knowledge and give us understanding, so that every decision we make tonight will be for the benefit of the citizens of Creedmoor. Watch over this board, watch over our citizens, and bless us and keep us. If you bless us, oh Father God, we will be blessed. If you keep us, we will be kept. Father, we thank you, we love you, and it is in the mighty name of Jesus we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Next, we have a pledge of allegiance. Commissioner Moss.
If you're able to stand, please do so for our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Gleason.
Here.
Commissioner Moss.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilkins.
Present.
Commissioner Kaczynski. Commissioner Way.
Here.
Mayor Downey.
Here.
Thank you.
We need an approval of agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Any discussion? It's been a motion made to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Moving on to the discussion items. Request to address the board and citizens, Mayor Antoine Downey. I prayed long and hard about what God has led me to do. I prayed for this position, and I don't think God brought me to this position to lead me now. I go back to Scripture, Isaiah 41 and 10. It says, "Fear not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, and I will help thee." Isaiah had a lot to say, because I go to another Scripture. It's Isaiah 43 and 2. It says, when thou passest through waters, I will be with thee. When thou walkest through fire, thou shalt not be burnt. I want to begin by addressing the situation that's on everyone's mind. I am aware of the charge stemming from my February 16th incident. I take this matter very seriously, and I understand the concern and disappointment that it has caused in this community. As your mayor, I hold a position of trust. I recognize that this situation has impacted that trust, and for that, I am sincerely sorry. I'm not here to make excuses. I'm here to take responsibility for how I move forward. I want to be clear about the steps that I have taken. I voluntarily entered and completed a 30-day treatment program, followed by additional outpatient care, and I remain actively engaged in my recovery. That work is ongoing, and I take that very seriously every day, because all we have is today. To the members of this board, I respect your role and your responsibilities to this community. I will continue to cooperate and remain transparent moving forward. Mayor Pro Tem Wilkins, I appreciate you holding the seat while in my absence. To the residents of Creedmoor, you deserve leadership that is steady and focused. My commitment to serving this community has not changed. I remain fully engaged in the work ahead, strengthening our neighborhoods, supporting our schools, growing our local economy, and continuing to move this city forward. I understand that trust is not built overnight. It is earned through consistent actions over time. That is exactly what I intend to do, through my conduct, my leadership, and my service to this community. I am here, I am doing the work, and I intend to continue serving the people of this city with the seriousness and the commitment that this office deserves. So once again, I ask the Mayor Pro Tem and the Board of Commissioners grace. Let's save this great city $50,000, which should be used for water filters, recreational development, city building activities, instead of a shot at an emotion hearing, which might deem unsuccessful. Let me finish my term in which the citizens voted me to do. I would submit to a contract that if I put the city's integrity in question again, that I, Mayor Antoine Downey, will gladly step down. I can do this job and be the mayor that the people voted for. Thank you. Commissioner Moss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I greatly appreciate the statement that you just gave us. It is definitely well received, as you just heard. Obviously, hopefully you know that I have thought long and hard. What am I doing? It's on? Yeah. I've thought long and hard about this evening, since you announced your return. And I thought I would start by saying what I said to you privately on this past Thursday, and I wanted to say that publicly tonight, because it's important for me at least. I don't know, outside of your family, I don't know that there is anyone in this room that was as vested or as invested in your success than I was. We sat in my den and talked about your campaign, my campaign. We campaigned together. We won together. We were sworn in together, and we find ourselves together here tonight. So I hope that you will accept from me that I am not taking anything lightly at all, very serious. And the comments that you made about the seriousness of the work, having sat in your seat, I do appreciate you sharing that with us. I also wanted to talk again just for a moment about the question that I asked you when we met on Thursday. And the question was, none of you were in the room, Ed was, I believe, and Mike Turner. But the question was, what was your thought on how people view government, their level of trust in government? That was my question. And you answered it absolutely perfect. You said that you believe that people have a low level of trust in government. And I agree. And that's not just Creedmoor. That's from Washington, D.C. to Raleigh to here locally, that by and large folks don't have a lot of confidence and trust in what we do. sadly, where we find ourselves is in a situation, unfortunately, with your actions that continue to make that trust an issue for the community. And I know I greatly, again, appreciate your comments about rebuilding that trust. And I want you to know that I am only speaking for Darrell. I'm not speaking for Robert, Georgiana, Archer, or Ed. I'm speaking for myself. And I will ask, again, as I did on Thursday, with as much respect for you and your family as I can possibly muster, to respectfully ask that you submit your resignation. We've talked many times, not many times, that's not true, we've talked multiple times about your story about redemption. And it is an absolute great story. And I don't want to call it a story, but it is a great testimony. I think that's the word I should use. It is an absolute great testimony. But I believe that it could be an even greater testimony if you were to take some time to put yourself first, to put your family first. And I'm not saying you're not doing that, but it would be a great demonstration to the community, and put our community first, because we are, like every other government entity, there are challenges where there is a need for extreme focus. There is a need for our mayor to be a lot of places all at the same time. And I will apologize if I'm wrong, but it feels like that might be a challenge. Over, next Wednesday, there's a meeting with Governor Stein in Vance County that we need to be at, to let him know about our challenges here in Creedmoor and Southern Granville County. And so these are things that I will tell you, and just putting it as simply as I can, these are things that are weighing on my mind. You know that I care about you. You know that I care about your family. I want absolutely nothing but the best for all of you. So I will end it there, but I do appreciate the opportunity to make those comments face to face and to make those comments publicly. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Gleason?
Again, as I said the first night after the incident that precipitated this whole incident, having met you when you started to run for office, and the conversations we had and the conversations you had with my wife were more than pleasant and made me feel like that. And I said this to you, if you got elected, although I wasn't supporting you in the election, that I would be there for you after the election if you won. And I was. I'm an ordained elder in my church. I read the Bible. Thank God that God forgives you 70 times 7 times or more, because I needed God's forgiveness many times in my life. However, God doesn't represent the citizens of Creedmoor. You did. And I would understand if you were, well, I can't say you because you are a young man and I'm an old man, that I can understand your need for forgiveness, but when we individually, myself and former Mayor Moss met with you, you started telling a story about how you became an alcoholic. You never looked me in the eye since the day one, and I've talked to you on the phone, and you never said, gee, Ed, I'm sorry.
The first thing, well, first of all, you couldn't find me from underneath the table if it happened to me, but the first person I would see, the first words out of my mouth would be, "I'm sorry." Never heard it till tonight. It was the first time I ever heard you mention the word sorry. You got elected in November, took office in the second half of the meeting in December, so you ran this January meeting and a February meeting. When I talked to you on the phone a few days after the incident, you got belligerent with me when I said to you, "This is a serious incident." And you went off. You went off on me that this wasn't a serious incident. I won't say what you said. And then when I mentioned that to you, you said, "Well, I can't even remember that," obviously, because it was 4 days after the incident, and you were, obviously, if you don't remember it, there was reasons why you wouldn't have remembered it. But representing the citizens of Creedmoor, and as Mayor Moss said, there are things that go all over this Tri-County area, in Raleigh, in Charlotte, that you will be there, the face of the city of Creedmoor. And the face of the city of Creedmoor has appeared on the front page of the local paper too much. And it's probably going to appear on the front page of the newspaper on Friday.
It's on the news now.
I have 5 kids and 11 grandkids. Thank God that I never felt that I put my kids in a position where they would have to look at me and I would have to look at them and say, "I didn't mean it." If this was the first time, if this was the second time in 10 years, I could understand saying, "Give me a break.
It's the second time.
I'm going to go to AA.
It's the second time in 10 years.
I'm Ed Gleason. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm sober 35 years. Thank God. Thank God. But the bottom line is, people that I know in AA don't get sober and stay sober. And sadly, the facts are the facts. You have a track record that I didn't make, you made. So as a board, if we say, "Okay, we'll give you another shot," and the community, and again, you could say, "I'm never going to do it again, I'm never going to do it again, you're never going to do it again, I'm never going to do it again," 5 times. Now we're up to 5. I don't want to get a call like I did on that Monday night, hearing what I heard on the phone. Again. So again, and I said this to you personally, I think for your family, for yourself, for the community, you're a young man. A young man. You get a chance to have a clean slate from here till you meet God. Till you meet God. And you don't put anybody else, the community, again, Mayor, I would advise you, don't tell me and stand there and really be honest and say we should spend $50,000 on water filters and forget about the fact that the mayor is riding around on an electric scooter representing the citizens of Creedmoor.
We can't have any comments.
So, again, I didn't want to get mad, but when we started this meeting, and you gave a speech that just went on about the Bible doesn't run the city of Creedmoor. In fact, we according to federal law, we shouldn't even have a prayer at the beginning of the meeting. I got People walked out of me when I was the chairman of the Democratic Party. I said a prayer, and 4 people walked out of the room saying, you're not supposed to say a prayer, you're supposed to say a non-denominational blah, blah, blah.
Mr. Gleason, I think we're getting off contract. I think we're getting off the subject about
Thank you.
prayer in here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, it's not a discussion. I guess we'll move on. 5B, board discussion on the resolution regarding Mayor, you want to speak on?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozinski?
At our meeting on Thursday, my comment is the same as Commissioner Gleason's. There was no apology, and as a matter of fact, it got turned around on me. I may not have voted for you, but I worked with you during campaigning on early voting. I sat with you, I learned about you, and I was willing to give you a chance. I never knew any of this other stuff. I think that if it had been brought out, things might have been different. But I'm not a mind reader, and I'm not predicting the future. But the night of your accident, I was at a county retreat from 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And at 5:45 at night, commissioners started coming to me, mayors started coming to me asking, where's your mayor? Where's your mayor? You guys are first. Where's your mayor? And I didn't know, had no idea. The staff had worked all week long to make a presentation for you. They put their heart and soul into it.
Okay.
Because they wanted Creedmoor to look good. So I had no idea where you were. The mayor pro tem wasn't there. No other commissioners were there but me. And when they called your name, 2 mayors piped up and said, oh, we had lunch with him today. He told us he's not coming. That is disrespect for the county commissioners, the citizens,
Lunch with a mayor.
and the city of Creedmoor, because the presentations for every other city in this county went on, and Creedmoor did not have anything. And when I checked with the mayor pro tem to see if you had reached out to him and asked him to cover, which is protocol and procedure, you hadn't done that. Then we attended the Chamber of Commerce dinner. And at the Chamber of Commerce dinner, when they announced every representative from every city, as I sat at a table with other city officials who stood up when their names was called, they called you when you weren't there because you were away at that time. You went to South Granville High School, did a presentation there, not prepared, improperly dressed, and that's not a good role model to our students. Sending a request to be excused from 3 meetings to a clerk isn't the proper procedure. It should come to the board. The clerk doesn't have the authority to excuse you from a meeting. I told you in that meeting that I know that you are a good person, and you can be a good person, and you've got a beautiful family. I want you to take care of yourself and get better. You told us in that meeting that this job is hard, very hard, harder than you thought it would be. That was 2 months in, 2 months. There are meetings all over the state. I've been to legislative luncheons and dinners where people have asked about you and what are we doing about the mayor? What are we doing about everywhere? I went to Chapel Hill to a doctor's appointment that doctors and nurses were asking me, and I can't answer them. You put us all in a very bad light. And I also ask, as Commissioner Moss has, and Commissioner Gleason, and all of us unanimously in a letter to you, we are asking again that you submit your resignation, get the help you need, take care of your family. I don't ever want to find out that you were not able to walk your daughter down the aisle or see your children grow up because you have hurt yourself or, God forbid, somebody else. So please, understand that this is not not coming from any other place but a heart.
Tomorrow's not promised. All I have is today, and I will lay down tonight without having a drink. So, Commissioner Way?
Mr. Mayor, when we had our meeting, when we sat down together and I spoke to you, and I told you I was going to address you in two fashions. I was going to address you Robert Antoine, I was going to address you as Commissioner to Mayor. And in that meeting, I told you, I cannot make you resign. That is a decision that you have to make on your very own. And you have to factor in all the things that are out there in the world that's going on as far as the comments, the ridicule, and things of that nature. I also told you that as a family man myself, that's stuff that I have to put in my brain if I did anything that would require me to be brought into the public ridicule as you've been brought into it. Do I want to put my family through that ridicule? It's kind of like a bad dream when it all just keeps repeating. It'll go away for a few days and then it'll pop back up again. And I'm sorry that that's the way it is and it's the way it's become. But as mayor, I've also told you that your responsibility when you put your hand on the Bible would to uphold the laws and the Constitution, and that's what people hold you to standards. Your job as mayor is to swear in our law enforcement officers that represent the law and order and the citizens of Creedmoor. And it's hard for me to stand up there and be sworn in as a law enforcement officer when I have somebody that has been criminally charged as many times in a serious nature of driving while impaired. That puts a lot of strain on these men and women that have to wear the badge and represent the law and order and citizens that we all swore to protect and uphold. And it also puts them in the situation, if they see you, they have to respond and act, because that's their sworn oath, just like ours. As everyone else has all stated, I asked you to resign. I can't tell you to resign. I cannot make you resign. That is a decision that you have to make on your own. That's a decision that has to be factored into everything that you want to be. If you feel in your heart that you need to be here and you need to represent the citizens of Creedmoor and you want to continue to put yourself through the ridicule, sir, that is totally on you. And I told you that I will always stand with you and support you if you call me. And that is the honest answer that I can give you, because you know what? We're not perfect people. We all struggle every day. We all have our own demons and things of that nature that we battle with. And the only way we get better is if we hold each other up. So, as I said before, I can ask you to resign as a commissioner, because your job is to represent and uphold the law. Your job is to represent the citizens of Creedmoor and respond to different events and represent us as a board, because you are the figurehead of the city of Creedmoor. You are the face of the city of Creedmoor. Mm-hmm. The people out here in this audience tonight, they wouldn't be out here in this audience if they didn't support you. They wouldn't be here. I can implore you to seek in your heart and do what you think is right. But I think, Robert Way speaking, I would resign from the position of mayor and focus on whatever you think you need to focus on as far as your health, your family situation, or anything of that nature. And if you call Robert and say, Robert, I need X, Y, Z or whatever, I will do my best to be able to help you out the best that I can. And just like I told you,
You were elected by the citizens of Creedmoor. You're Mayor Downey, just like I call Mayor Moss. Even though he's sitting as a commissioner, he's always going to be mayor. You're always going to be a mayor. You were elected by the citizens as mayor. If this is something that you feel like you want to do again, put your hat in the ring and go out for election. As you said, today's almost over. Tomorrow's a mystery. We don't know what's up next. But I can tell you that I strive to be better than I was today. So thank you for allowing me to speak and comment towards you.
Thank you, Commissioners. 5B, would you like Mayor Pro Tem to take over this?
Yeah, so just for what it's worth, and I know that we kind of addressed this, I sent the board an email that references this. Since this is a resolution that will affect Mayor Downey's authorities and duties as mayor, if he wishes to oppose the adoption of this resolution, the board's rules of procedure would dictate that he should step down from the presiding officer role and appoint another commissioner to serve as the presiding officer for that, solely for the debate over this resolution. So I will take this to mean, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I would take this to mean that you intend to speak in opposition to the adoption of this resolution. If that's the case, then this would be an appropriate time to appoint a presiding officer. I think Mayor Pro Tem Wilkins would be an appropriate person to appoint, but I don't believe the rules specify that it has to be the president.
Do I need to step down or just appoint somebody to handle this?
Yes, so I would suggest you go ahead and appoint a commissioner. I appoint
Mayor Pro Tem to handle 5B on discussion items.
Discussion item 5B, board discussion on resolution regarding Mayor Downey's duties and authority. Mr. City Attorney.
So I don't have a whole lot on this. At our last meeting, the board directed me to prepare a resolution removing the powers and authorities that this board has delegated to the office of mayor, as opposed to any powers or authority or privileges that are delegated by state law. So you all should have in front of you a copy of that draft resolution. I think this would be your opportunity to discuss potential amendment if the board chooses to act on that resolution.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, just for the sake of transparency, is it appropriate to ask the city clerk to read the resolution so that everyone knows what is being discussed?
I think that would be appropriate, Madam City Clerk.
Thank you.
Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the City of Creedmoor has, over the years, delegated certain authority to the city's mayor beyond the authority vested in the office of mayor by state law, and whereas the privileges and authority granted to the city's mayor by the board include possession of, access to, and use of certain city-owned property, including an iPad and associated equipment, a key to the mayor's office, and a key to City Hall entrances. The authority to sign documents on behalf of the city without a second city employee or official signature, city-issued business cards, access to and use of a training and travel budget as part of the city's approved budget, and the authority to speak on behalf and as a representative of the city at public functions. And whereas the board is concerned that due to certain recent public incidents involving Mayor Downey cannot be trusted to responsibly exercise the authority and privileges delegated to his office by this board. And whereas the board has previously taken a vote of no confidence in Mayor Downey and has requested his resignation. And whereas the board has determined that it is in the city's interest to revoke the authority and privileges delegated by the board to the office of mayor in order to limit any further public incidents which might reflect poorly to the city. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Creedmoor Board of Commissioners that they do hereby, number one, revoke the delegation of authority to speak on behalf and as a representative of the city at public functions. Number two, revoke Mayor Downey's authority to keep and use keys to the City Hall facility and to the mayor's office. Three, revoke Mayor Downey's authority to keep and use his city-issued iPad and associated equipment. Number four, revoke Mayor Downey's authority to keep and distribute city-owned business cards. Number five, revoke Mayor Downey's access to the City Hall facility except for the purpose of attending or participating in meetings of public bodies, including the board, or by appointment with the city manager. Number six, revoke Mayor Downey's authority to send emails, text messages, or any other communications from city-issued email addresses, telephone numbers, or other means of communication. Number seven, this resolution is not intended to revoke or otherwise limit any authority delegated to Mayor Downey or the office of mayor by law, and any provision of this resolution found to be in conflict with any provision of law shall be void, leaving the remaining unaffected provisions valid. This resolution is effective upon adoption.
All right, the resolution has been read and heard. I'll open it for discussion.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, there was one item, Kevin, I think that we have discussed around the salary issue. Could you speak to that? I know it's not included in this resolution, and as I understand it, the board does not have, we have limited authority as to what actions could be taken there.
That's right. So according to, as we come from North Carolina General Statutes, Chapter 160A, Section 64A, effectively what the statute, I'll back up and say, but the statute is unclear about the board's authority to reduce or eliminate a mayor's salary during the then current term of office. What the statute says, and I'm going to try to just read the relevant language here because I don't want to mouthful. The salary of an elected officer other than a member of the council may not be reduced during the then current term of office unless he agrees thereto. So, effectively, what North Carolina law says is that for most purposes, the mayor is not considered a member of the council. It's a separate official position. And therefore, the board's authority to reduce or eliminate the mayor's salary is at least questionable under the statute as written. So I've not included it in the proposed resolution. And that's a risk tolerance question for this board.
Okay. Continue to open for discussion.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Commissioner Way.
Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, sir.
Based on the resolution that was just read, where in general statute do we have the authority to make these changes?
So there's no specific provision that would authorize the board to revoke authorities that are given by the board, but the general principle is that if you have the authority to delegate a specific power or responsibility, you also have the authority to revoke that delegation. So again, the whole point of this, and this is in provision number 7 of the resolution, is that if there's any provision of law that says we can't do any of the things that have been specifically, if we can't revoke any of the things or the authority that we have specifically revoked in the resolution, that revocation will be stricken and the remaining provision will remain in effect.
Well, that's what I'm asking. What can we do if it's not a provision of the law and we're creating a resolution that we have no idea that we can or cannot do it?
Well, we do know we can do it. There's no statute that says For example, there's no statute that says the board can issue city-owned or city-prepared business cards to a commissioner or to a mayor. So likewise, there's no statute that says you can revoke the authority for a commissioner or a mayor to hand out city-issued business cards. But the fact is that the city delegates an authority or gives access to city equipment to a person, whether it's a mayor, a commissioner, an employee, or whatever. The city also then has the authority to revoke that privilege or that permission after the fact. And so that's what the city is effectively doing here. The powers, authorities, and privileges that the board has granted to the office of mayor that are not otherwise required to be exercised by the office of mayor by law are being revoked by the board.
So if he can't receive his city emails, how's he gonna know what's gonna go on after he presides over a meeting?
That'll be the responsibility of the board and city staff to communicate and update him appropriately. He can receive emails as the resolution, but he just can't send emails out, make external communications with city, city provided means of communication.
Thank you.
Commissioner Moss.
Yes, sir. Two things, Kevin. In the resolution, let me deal with that piece of it first. So in the resolution, and Mayor Downey, I will apologize for maybe even saying this out loud, but in understanding that you have upcoming court at some point, Kevin, if the mayor were to be found not guilty, could this resolution possibly be revised to state, in the event the mayor is found not guilty of any charges, all of these things go away, or we need to go back through this process to reinstate these duties?
Certainly. Well, so I think there are a couple of options here. First, we could certainly revise the proposed resolution to include a provision that says if Mayor Downey is found not guilty or charges against Mayor Downey are dropped, that the revocations expressed in the resolution will automatically terminate. Alternatively, the board could certainly, after the fact, after one of those events has occurred, either he's found not guilty or the charges are dismissed, the board could adopt kind of a companion resolution that would basically go through and say all the same things to the board. On April 21st, 2026, revoked these authorities, the board now grants them back to Mayor Downey and the office of mayor.
Okay.
So there are certainly ways we could undo this fairly easily.
Yeah. And the reason I posed that question, I was just sitting here thinking, we do live in America, and in America, it is innocent until proven guilty. So I did want to think about and discuss some provision that, in the event things go well for you, that we could, put your duties back in place. So that was my thought there.
Mayor Downey?
I had my council advise me on some things. They couldn't be here tonight, but as far as Kevin, as far as revoking authority to speak on behalf of the city, my council said that the city is the official, that I'm the official head under Charter 3.2. He said speaking ceremonially and representatively is inherited incident of the office and is not a discretionary privilege.
If your council can present some law that says that you are entitled, regardless of any other circumstances, to speak at any event without board authorization, we'd certainly be happy to reconsider that. That's not a provision of law that I've ever come across.
Okay. Well,
there are certain ceremonial duties that are delegated to the office of mayor by statute, speaking at a high school graduation or some other event, not specifically one of those.
Okay. He also gave me revoking Mayor Downey's access to City Hall facility except for meetings by appointment of the city manager. He said that I am not a subordinate of the city manager. He said conditioning access on permission of an appointed official inverts the charter power structure and effectively suspends the mayor. This material interferes with meeting preparation, constituent engagement, and executive functions.
Again, if your council wants to provide some source of law, I'm happy to consider it.
Cool.
But again, this is not, the resolution, the city manager is not the one revoking any of these authorities. This is a revocation by the board.
Okay.
So there's no, the city manager is not the one that is limiting your access to anything.
Okay. Well, can the board limit my access to?
Certainly.
Okay.
The city hall property is city property. The city, by and through the board, the majority of the board of commissioners, the same way that you can decide who has access to your home, the city board of commissioners or majority of the board of commissioners get to decide who has access to city property.
So that doesn't interfere with me being the mayor? That doesn't interfere at all with the function of me being the mayor?
I don't have, if it's not a specific question, I don't know that I can provide the answer.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Kevin.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I have one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Going back to the salary issue just for a moment, and I don't know if this is worth the time tonight, I just don't know. And maybe this is a discussion that's best suited for the budget timeframe? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. That's it for me. Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing on, there's no action other than discussion. Is that correct, City Attorney?
Mr. Mayor, I was going to make a motion.
I'm just looking at the agenda.
Okay.
Discussion and action is deemed appropriate by the board, so I'm willing to be guided. Commissioner Kuczynski.
Make a motion that we adopt the resolution as written regarding Mayor duties and authority.
And City Clerk, would you read that one more time to make sure we're clear on the 7 items? I took some short notes, but I may have missed something.
Just Commissioner's motion?
No, the resolution, please, if you don't mind. So it's on the record.
Resolution 2026-R09, whereas the Board of Commissioners of the City of Creedmoor has over the years delegated certain authority, you want the whole thing, right, sir?
Please.
Authority to the city's mayor beyond the authority vested in the office of mayor by state law, and whereas the privileges and authority granted to the city's mayor by the board include possession of, access to, and use of certain city-owned property, including an iPad and associated equipment, a key to the mayor's office, and a key to the city hall entrances. The authority to sign documents on behalf of the city without a second city employee or official signature, city-issued business cards, access to and use of a training and travel budget as part of the city's approved budget, and the authority to speak on behalf and as a representative of the city at public functions. And whereas the board is concerned that due to certain recent public incidents involving Mayor Downey cannot be trusted to responsibly exercise the authority and privileges delegated to his office by the board. And whereas the board has previously taken a vote of no confidence in Mayor Downey and has requested his resignation, and whereas the board has determined that it is in the city's interest to revoke the authority and privileges delegated by the board to the office of mayor in order to limit any further public incidents which might reflect poorly on the city. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Creedmoor Board of Commissioners that they do hereby, 1, revoke the delegation of authority to speak on behalf and as a representative of the city at public functions. 2, revoke Mayor Downey's authority to keep and use keys to the City Hall facility and to the mayor's office. 3, revoke Mayor Downey's authority to keep and use his city-issued iPad and associated equipment. 4, revoke Mayor Downey's authority to keep and distribute city-issued business cards. 5, revoke Mayor Downey's access to the City Hall facility except for the purpose of attending or participating in meetings of public bodies, including the board, or by appointment with the city manager. 6, revoke Mayor Downey's authority to send emails, text messages, or any other communications from city-issued email addresses, telephone numbers, or other means of communication. And 7, this resolution is not intended to revoke or otherwise limit any authority delegated to Mayor Downey or the office of mayor by law, and any provision of this resolution found to be in conflict with any provision of law shall be void, leaving the remaining unaffected provisions valid.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. The resolution has been read for a second time. Any further discussion before I call for a vote? Mr. Morris, did you have something?
I'm good.
Anyone else?
I just ask for a roll call vote, please.
Yes, sir. Madam City Clerk, roll call vote.
Certainly. Commissioner Gleason. Commissioner Kuczynski. Commissioner Moss.
Aye.
Commissioner Way.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilkins.
Aye. Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you.
Turn it back over to the mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. 5C, Board of Commissioners Code of Ethics and Rules of Procedure. City Attorney Kevin.
So once again, first, you all should have received copies of red line, an initial red line, you were Code of Ethics and Rules of Procedure this afternoon. I apologize for the delay getting those to you. As you recall, at your last meeting, we talked about preparing amendments to both documents. Both were adopted, I think, approximately 10 years ago, so both ought to be refreshed by now. This is just an initial red line pass that makes very minor changes. Aside from reversing the no second rule, there are really very few, and eliminating the inconsistent appointment to appoint or nomination and appointment process for appointed boards. There are no substantive changes referenced in your rules of procedure. The Code of Ethics has been updated to clarify that it is intended to also apply to the office of mayor in addition to the office of city commissioner. But this would be your opportunity to discuss these proposed changes and to suggest any other changes that you all might have in mind.
All right, we have the changes.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner
I just wanted to just review briefly. So Kevin, the red lines, well, you did add a couple of lines here, but basically we've gone through and added the mayor and city commissioners, for example, in most of the areas, and there are some areas where you just took out city commissioners. For example, under Code of Ethics for City Commissioners B, instead of saying a city commissioner should uphold, you just said uphold the integrity, so forth and so on. So that's kind of the consistency.
He also puts mayors.
I'm sorry, say that again?
He also put mayor and commissioner.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, but basically it's adding the mayor in here, because as we pointed out at the last meeting, again, as I was reviewing the Code of Ethics, the mayor was not mentioned. And not necessarily because of this particular situation, but I do think that that was an omission that we should be thinking about. All right. Thank you, sir.
Any other discussion?
Commissioner Kuczynski.
So, Kevin,
Brain fart.
under the Code of Ethics, we had talked about some things at our last meeting. Are they already in here, the things that we had discussed at the last meeting?
Which specific things?
Let me see, I thought, well, that would be under rules of, no, that's our charter for a, recall vote and all that stuff. That's under the charter, that's not under
Yeah,
the.
so I think the board has discussed, or individual commissioners have have contemplated the notion of having the city's charter amended to implement a recall election, process. There are very few municipalities throughout the state, the city of Durham being one, that includes a recall election provision in their city charter, which is essentially a charter provision that would allow an elected official to be removed from office upon petition of a particular percentage of the voting population within the municipality, and then it establishes a process by which that vacant seat would be filled through a special election. City of Creedmoor does not have a recall election process in the city charter as it exists now. The only way to change that would be through local through Acting General Assembly.
So when it says Code of Ethics for the Creedmoor Board of Commissioners, does that include the mayor?
Well, as Commissioner Moss just mentioned, that was why I believe he brought up the notion of revising the Code of Ethics in the first place. I think maybe prior to our last meeting, he looked at the Code of Ethics, realized that, and I didn't draft this in the first instance, so I can't say for sure, but I suspect that it was just a mere oversight, that it references, city commissioners in each canon of the Code of Ethics, as it calls them. It did not specifically include the mayor. I suspect that it was always intended to include every elected official who represents the city of Creedmoor. So that's the purpose of the red line revisions that I've done, is to make that clear. That each instance where city commissioner, a duty or responsibility or an ethical guideline is established for the city commissioner, I've also made clear that applies to the city's mayor as well.
So the reason I asked that question was when we go back to the resolution and Commissioner Moss's question about salary, saying there was a gray area about whether the mayor was a member of council or not. When there's a tie on this board, the mayor has the duty to vote, which I would believe makes him a member of council.
Well, there's law out there on this that says, in most instances, a mayor is not considered a member of the council. The mayor is I think you mentioned it, in most city charter meetings, that you sit as kind of the official figurehead of, in this case, the city of Creedmoor. The charter and the general statutes specify that kind of the default rule is that the office of mayor votes only in cases where there's a tie, break a tie, where the mayor is not otherwise authorized by charter to cast a vote on a particular action.
So is it okay to change this with the revisions that are in here to include the mayor in this?
Certainly, this is a city-adopted code or policy.
I don't want it to come back in the other direction at a later date. Okay, thank you.
Kevin, I have a question. These revisions in the charter, are they implemented next term, or when do they take effect?
So they, in fact, the board can make them retroactively effective. You can make them effective whenever the board specifies. And typically, it would be effective upon adoption.
Is a public hearing or anything like that required?
So this is a kind of mere policy document.
Okay.
Similar in character to your ruling procedure.
Commissioner Gleason?
Well, we've talked about a few things. First of all, the ethics code, which has the red line changes. While you were talking about that, you also said about changing the rules for seconding a motion, which is part of the Board of Commissioner Rules of Policy for Procedure. So I don't have a problem with this. So are we going to do any voting on this tonight, or are we just going to discuss it?
What I would recommend is that this ought to be a discussion on both the rules of procedure and the code of ethics. If if there are other changes that, members of the board would like to see made to either document, this would be an opportunity for you to mention those. I can take this back and try to,
Okay, so my question is, and if you look at the rules of procedure, they were adopted in 2021. Prior to the rules of procedure, this board used Robert's Rules of Order. And I believe these rules were changed to benefit a few. With being able to make a motion to cause an argument, to be able to, I guess we can discuss this, but to fix this whole problem would be to go back to Robert's Rules of Order, which pretty much cover everything that we need to cover in the management and running of our city meetings. So I just wanted to bring that point up, and I agree we should go on and discuss this further.
Commissioner Way?
I agree. I would go with the Robert's Rules of Order as well.
All right. Any more discussion?
Not this Robert's Rules of Order.
Any more discussion? Kevin, where do we go from here? Or?
So it sounds like if there are no more comments, what I can do is I'll do one more pass and then try to put this all into a final form. You might have noticed there are some funky format, like word processing formatting issues with the current document. So once we've got kind of the language in shape that everybody's happy with, I can put the document into a consistent format and a kind of a final presentation. You can bring those back to you all either at your next regular meeting or your work session next month or your board action.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes, sir. And Kevin, I'm not trying to prolong this conversation, but the difference between our rules of procedure and the Robert's Rules of Order is the second. That's it.
We include that.
I think
That is
that's
it.
fine.
And it just seems to me, for the sake of consistency, and I understand what you're saying about the Robert's Rules, and you too, Robert, I get that. It just seems like it would be rather simple just to include the second in our rules of procedure, and everything else stays the same. Keep following the rules, just add the second.
And I think that and the only other substantive change that I've proposed so far is to clean up that, the Rule 36 issue with the nominations, where we have kind of two different means of appointing or filling appointments. So I've stricken that and basically said, and y'all can see it, but basically said that the board can determine the means by which it will fill vacancies, and that the default will be just kind of a motion and vote.
So you can clean that up, bring it back to us, and we go from there?
Yes, sir.
I'm good with that.
Any more discussion? Thanks, Kevin. Let me ask a question, while we're here. Would any of the commissioners, be able to assist me in some of these meetings that we have to go to? Thank you.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'd go back to, sitting in my den. I told you that is what I would do. So I would keep my word.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
When I was up on the street, if I'd known that the presentations are in there, I would have done it because nobody else was there, but I didn't know.
Is that okay with the whole board?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right, 5D, resolution opposing legislation restricting municipalities from raising property taxes. Commissioner Kosinski?
So, it's been on the news, it's been on Facebook, it's been everywhere that the legislators are trying to, I'm gonna say, control municipalities from raising taxes and prohibit some municipalities from tax increases. And the city of Durham did a resolution last week, I believe, that they were in opposition to this. And I truly believe that this resolution that is being passed, I think it's in the House right now, that is met committee in the House already, so it's on the House side, is because there are so many home builders association members on that side. Not a nice thing to say, but it's a fact. I would like us to sign this resolution opposing the legislation restricting municipalities from raising property taxes or even lowering. I mean, it can go either way. This city has lowered, we've raised, we've lowered. It's taking our ability away from us. And we know our budget, and we know what we need, and we know what we will need. And if we are prohibited from that, it would cause us to not hire enough police officers, not hire enough staff. We would not be able to service the citizens of Creedmoor with everything they need. It could come to that. Budget time is a horrible time. I hate budget time. But it's a lot of money to run the city, and we try, all of us, try very, very hard to make sure that we don't burden our citizens with what they need, but the citizens need services. You need us to respond to an emergency phone call. You need us to take care of your storm drains when they're all clogged up. You need us to do a lot of things. And we want to keep doing that. And if the state legislature can stop us from doing what needs to be done to do that for you, then the state is not going to give us the money and say, oh, well, you can't raise taxes, but we'll give you $1 million so you can keep doing this for the people. They're not going to do that. And services will slow, and I don't want to see that. So I'd like the state government to stay out of municipal government and send a resolution opposing the legislature from limiting us to raise or lower taxes as we need for our city.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioner Kozinski. I'm going to be supporting your motion. I do think it is noteworthy to also mention that the legislature has already established a maximum tax rate for the state of North Carolina, both counties and municipalities. It is $1.50. And as we learned on our call the other day, there are no counties or cities that are even close to that. So I think this further demonstrates that we are doing our very best to act responsibly. So the limit's already there. So, thank you.
Commissioner Gleason?
I have to agree with this resolution. Since I've been involved in the city, the state has year after year taken away revenue from the city. Took away license fees, took away fees that the city would normally add to its coffers. The other biggest problem is this is a get elected thing. If anybody looks at social media or whatever, somebody gets told that the state's going to stop us from raising your taxes, you're going to say, man, I'm all for that. However, as was brought out, we have responsibility to the community to provide fire service, police service, Department of Public Works. And I understand that just setting a maximum tax rate and not be able to raise it, again, would cause a problem where, well, this budget year, I guess we're gonna have to lay off 2 police officers instead of hiring because we didn't get the 25 houses that we thought we were gonna get. So that amount of revenue is not gonna be made up. The bottom line is, I look at it just as much as an election ploy for those politicians that are running for state office that they're gonna tell the taxpayers that they're gonna prevent the city or municipality or the county that they live in, that they're not gonna be able to raise their taxes, which is ludicrous on the face, when they're not gonna tell you that they're not gonna raise your taxes. So I believe that this resolution is appropriate.
Commissioner White? Mayor Pro Tem?
Nothing, sir.
All right, it's been a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-R08, and I'm going to read that. It's a resolution opposing modifications to municipal tax authority. Whereas Section 2, Article 5 of the North Carolina Constitution states in part that the General Assembly should not authorize any county, city, or town, special district, or other unit of local government to levy taxes on property except for purposes authorized by general law uniformly applicable throughout the state, unless the tax is approved by a majority of the qualified voters of the unit who vote thereon. And whereas Creedmoor property tax revenues help the city fund operations for safety and welfare of our citizens, including every police officer, dispatch, every firefighter call for assistance, and all public safety equipment such as police and fire vehicles, radios, and gear that protects them while they protect our citizens. And whereas property tax revenues provide street maintenance and planned pedestrian opportunities through sidewalks and multi-use paths, serving our community with a healthy and safe environment. And whereas in response to its citizens, the city of Creedmoor has also utilized property tax revenues to develop a wide scope of community-centered recreational opportunities. And whereas our residents directly choose their municipality representatives in the mayor and board of commissioner positions in regular elections. And whereas a municipality's property tax rates, along with scheduled fees, services, and capital projects are presented as part of an annual operating budget that is adopted by the voters' representatives following public hearings in which our city residents and citizens provide direct input. And whereas the city of Creedmoor is directly responsible to its citizens and must have the flexibility to alter property tax revenues with approval from the people who directly benefit from the services and amenities provided by the city, its citizens therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners for the city of Creedmoor supports the current tax revenue program outlined by the Constitution of the state of North Carolina, which places ultimate authority in the municipality's citizens on property tax rate changes. And it be further resolved that the Board of Commissioners ask the General Assembly not to support any constitutional changes to the current system, as it would greatly limit our city's ability to be directly responsive to our citizens, their health and safety, and their vision for our community. All right.
I make a motion that we approve the resolution.
This motion been made to approve the resolution. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Mayor, before we go on to 5E, just for, and I hate to take us back, but under the resolution regarding your duties, I don't recall us setting a time frame for that, and I don't know how others feel, but that is probably a point that we'd want to clarify sooner rather than later.
Mayor Pro Tem, you want to take back over?
Yes, does the board have any further discussion on Mr. Commissioner Morse's point?
I was going to suggest, tomorrow, that would be whatever tomorrow's date is, April 22nd.
Kevin? You want to weigh in on that?
So as far as when that becomes effective, I see no reason why that doesn't work. I think that's entirely up to the board. What I would recommend, is that we have a motion, and a vote to make that effective date, effective. But, you all can choose the effective date.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Kuczynski.
The last sentence in the resolution, I missed it before.
Is it there?
It says this resolution is effective upon adoption, so it would be tonight, right?
that was the resolution, but it does not, I don't think
Yeah, it
that
doesn't
speaks
say
to
when and where.
when the items need to be
Okay.
returned.
Thank you, I'm sorry, I was confused.
Right, okay. So, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to move that we designate April 22nd to address the issues that are identified under the resolution regarding the mayor's duties and authority.
Motion been made by Commissioner Morris to adopt this resolution effective tomorrow, the 22nd of April. Any further discussion? All, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And motion is approved 5-0. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
5C, Budget Amendment Number 7. Mr. Lee.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. This amendment appropriates $45,000 for outside legal services for the motion process that you all decided on at the last meeting. So this $45,000 is appropriating general fund balance dollars for this process.
Kevin, do I take that?
City Manager.
And if I may add to that, I think the estimate was about 41 based on a list of items that were itemized by outside counsel. But knowing they give us an hourly rate as well, knowing we'd like to have a little bit of flexibility to incur other costs that may arise, that's why we're asking for 45 in the budget amendment instead of the 41 as estimated by the attorneys. Thank you.
Commissioner Moss.
Yes, sir. Were you trying to push your button? Go ahead, I'll wait.
I just want to make a motion that we approve, budget amendment number 7.
It's been a motion to approve, Budget Amendment Number 7. Any more discussion?
Just one question, because if I understood correctly from the last meeting, we are very close, and I don't know the exact number, Mike or Lee, to exceeding our legal budget.
Correct.
For attorney's fees. This motion process, obviously, unless it's coming out of a different bucket, or is it?
Yeah, this is a different.
This is a different bucket?
Another amendment will come at a later time.
Okay. Scratch that then. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Kozinski.
So we're high on legal fees alone, and then this on top of it. And I guess that's recently, is that right, Mike?
What?
Recently, the budget for the attorneys has gone up substantially.
Correct.
Yes, and I'm going to speak on that in my budget comments.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Any further discussion? It's been a motion to adopt Amendment 7. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Financial summary update. Lee?
Yes. I won't be up here for a while. So this financial summary report kind of gets me back on track with the monthly financial summary report due to the busy schedule that we have had the last few months. This is the March 31st financial summary report. Same format as always. Like to point out property taxes, we're at 96% collected, expected to collect a little over, just not much, but to collect all of what is projected for property taxes. Sales and use tax, we're at 62% collected, on pace to collect all what was estimated there as well. Bringing the total revenues collected to 49% collected as of March 31st. Some funds we are still waiting on, as we spoke at the last meeting. Some funds come in quarterly, sales taxes come in 2 months behind. Investment earnings, we are 62% collected, and I will address that in our budget, once we get into budget, on how I had to budget conservative regarding those funds due to, there has been a slight decrease in those funds. Down to general fund expenditures, we're at 81% expense. Stormwater fund revenues, of total stormwater fund revenues, 134% collected, that being interest income on those funds as well as fees collected by the county and remitted to the city. So you see we have collected over what was projected for the fiscal year already. Stormwater fund expenditures, we're at 71% expense. Power bill revenue, we're at 33% of actual power bill revenue, interest income on those, and those two allocations from the state. And power bill fund expenditures, we're at 25% expense. But as you all are aware, we have to spend those funds before the end of the fiscal year, or the state will recall the fund in the next fiscal year if we have more than we are allowed to have on hand. But after speaking with Public Works Director, those funds will be spent here in the next few months or encumbered to at least be on the books. But any questions?
Commissioner Moss?
Please, do we have any idea of how much our fuel cost line item in the budget is being impacted, or where would that be shown? Maybe I should ask it that way.
Yeah, that would be broken out into each individual department budget. Only for those departments that have city-owned vehicles, being police, public works, community development has a vehicle, and the one city car that we have here. That was addressed during our budget discussions with the department heads. We all are aware that gas has increased, but as of right now, there has not been a major impact on our budget at the moment. But we are aware and keeping that in thought as we go into this budget preparation for the next fiscal year. Yes, sir.
Any more questions? Thanks, Lee. Financial summary update. Budget work session number 1, I'm sorry. City Manager, Mr. Turner.
Mayor Downey, Mayor Pro Tem Wilkins, and Commissioners, good evening. The presentation this evening will be the first of 2 budget work sessions approved by this board at your December 2nd, 2025 meeting. Using FY26 end-of-year projections, information presented and discussed at the February 7th work session, the annual strategic planning workshop, and a multitude of other resources, you will see in this presentation the initial department head's budget request and the manager's recommendation, outside agency requests for donations, and the finance director's 2027 revenue and expenditure updates. We're going to move on to the first slide, and I will begin with an overview of the budget cost centers, starting with general government. And we'll go right down the column on the left side on each one of those. General government increases by $240,802, representing a $252,602 increase for debt service payment on the new PD building and City Hall renovations, and a reduction in total request by moving the city's newsletter fundings over to the clerk's budget, and a reduction of non-recurring costs for the emergency operation plan that y'all approved in July of last year. So those numbers will change. Governing body, while we have an increased request of $1,750 for outside agencies, I have reduced the training and travel budget from $18,000 in 2026 to $12,000 in 2027, or $2,000 per commissioner. A reduction is also being realized for no recurring cost of the FY26 municipal election, which cost the city $20,259 this past year, as opposed to what we had budgeted at 18. And they gave us a reason for those cost overrun. City managers increased $8,368. This increase represents the impact of a salary and benefit adjustment as a result of annual performance evaluations for both the city manager and the executive assistant that fall in the city manager's budget. City clerk increases $8,663. This increase is a result of moving funds for the newsletter from general government budget and an increase in cost for public notices and city ads. Administration, $36,872 increase. We will be experiencing an increase in health insurance, employee retirement benefits, and miscellaneous contracted services. And one other item besides fuel, Mr. Moss, was postages. We've been told postage is going up from 78 cents to as high as 95. So where that falls out, we've just tried to plan for an increase to anticipate those. Legal services. The total budget for legal services in FY '25 was $60,000. The actual cost for that year totaled $38,278. The total budget for FY '26 was again $60,000. Due to an increase in services requested, the current total expended July 1, 25 through March of 30, last month, is currently at $53,900, with 3 months remaining, which could easily rise above 70, or below 70, by June 30, 2026. Over the previous year, the increased services required were for the new PD building and City Hall renovation projects, the former Owl House project, CSX Railroad property boundaries, the Zinc House, water quality testing and filter issues that the board's dealt with, acquisitions of the Watson Street property, SRO renewal agreement that's been drafted and reviewed, and most of y'all know Kevin reviews every contract before it comes to y'all for accuracy and legalities and all that. And increased attendance for monthly board work sessions, and now the mayor and the motion issues that you're dealing with. So that's why these numbers are going up. Typically, the annual monthly expenditures for legal is $3, $4, maybe $5,000. The last two have been in excess of $9,000. $8,000 January, $9,000 February, $9,007 March. So we've got April, May, and June to get through. That's the reason why we've added $10,000 to this year's budget request for legal to carry it to 70. You may remember we cut back on attorney's attendance for work sessions unless he was needed, for you to talk about things, and if we needed him, he'd zoom in. He didn't have to come, it cut our costs down. So beginning in January, I asked him if he would start coming to all the work sessions to be here, to be helpful with the new mayor, the rules, Robert's rules, the things that needed to be conducted, that needed to be brought to the mayor's attention by legal and not me or you commissioners. So we have gone back to 2 meetings a month, and if we can adjust that later on, we will. Okay, finance went down. This is a reduction in budget request by $7,883 from last year. Police is an increase of $165,620. A $39,450 request to reclass 8 positions was postponed pending the outcome of the salary equity study that you're going to hear a little bit more about from Camille Lockley after Lee and I. And the reorganization and transition of the telecommunication to the county 911 center. And again, I'm just hitting the highlights. I'm hitting a few reasons why these budgets are going up or down. Public Works is a reduction in budget by $3,540 from last year. Community Development reflects an increase of $2,809 in lease payments at 211 East Main for 1 additional year, or until City Hall opens or is completed for them to move from 211 to our building. Following the relocation, there are other anticipated costs for VC3 decommissioning of that property, the cost of removing fiber optics from the CDO office across the street, across the City Hall parking lot into this building. Under Recreation, Recreation is experiencing a $4,000 vendor increase for the annual July the 4th fireworks because it's taking place on the 250th anniversary of America. So we expected those costs to go up. Increases in utility costs for the Lake Rogers Park water feature, and a variety of reductions across multiple lines, including overall reduction in operating costs. So that is a reduction in recreation overall for community center, recreation, and Lake Rogers Park totaling $14,665. The next slide I'm going to ask the clerk to move to is for the outside agency request. The FY 25 budget totaled $8,000. FY 26, which included for the first year, Granville County Crime Stoppers totaled $8,750. This request for 2027 represents an increase of $1,750 for a total of $10,500. And you can go across there and see Families Violence Free requesting a $500 additional. Granville Veterans, the same amount. Creedmoor Cemetery went up $1,300. Crime Stoppers went from $5,000 to $750. Granville County Search and Recovery stayed the same at $2,000. And the Granville County Historical Society reduced their request by $300. Unless you have any questions for me at this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to City Finance Director Lee Faines for the FY 27 update on revenues and expenditures and other budget-related information and details.
There we go. All right, so some FY 27 quick budget updates. Estimated revenues at this point is $6.7 million, an increase of $152,156 from the previous fiscal year. Two things to note in that, the reason being the increase is estimated increase in sales and use tax, as well as a slight increase in our ad valorem taxes based on our tax base number that I received from the county. FY 27 expenditures, as the city manager went through, total requested expenditures are $7,741,511, a $957,239 deficit. So, as you can see, this budget proposes some challenges that we have to address and see how we will proceed. The FY 26, just in comparison, the FY 26 adopted budget was $7.3 million, so a $438,000 increase from the previous fiscal year. And as city manager stated, a big portion of this deficit and increase that you see is the first year of the debt payment for the new construction and City Hall renovation. No, that payment is set in stone for September. The bank want their funds, they release it, and they want it when they want it. I'm at you all's direction on how you all would like for us to proceed. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just some revenue highlights. I presented this at our strategic planning workshop, the possibility of increase to the municipal vehicle tax. Currently, the city levies $10 per vehicle, which generates $43,000 annual in revenue. The general statute states that we can levy an annual municipal tax not to exceed $30 per vehicle. The first $5 being used for any general purpose the city might please use it for, and the remaining use it for, purposes of maintaining, repairing, constructing, reconstructing, widening, or improving public streets in the city that do not form a part of the state highway system. So, an increase of $10 to $28 would generate additional $43,000. Increasing it to the max of $30 will generate $83,000 in additional revenue. In this current budget, I propose the $10, so it's taking it to $20, so which will generate the 43. Yes, sir. Right. So, then to jump down to the ad valorem taxes, estimated taxable values, the last update that I received from the county tax office, our current tax base is estimated to be $665,605,439. Once doing your calculation, the estimated ad valorem tax revenue that the city could possibly receive is $3,382,264. And then I always like to show that what 1 cent will generate on our tax. Yes, sir. Say that again. Yes. So once I do, they give us, for each year, they give us the estimated taxable values for the city, meaning the taxable value that's within the city that we can generate property taxes and collect on those properties. That estimation is $665 million. So once I do my calculation of per $100 valuation, and you take your collection rate from your audit, you then generate what you can possibly receive from the tax bills, which would generate $3,382,000. So the $3,193,000 that you see here is actually what we collected to date as far as the current tax base that we have. The current budget estimated $3,330,000. So there's a slight increase there in the tax base from the county. That could have been a new property listed, or yes, sir. Yes, sir. You receive your bulk of your payments between the months September to January, maybe February. Those payments drop down dramatically towards the end of the month. Our last payment we just received was $17,000 in property taxes. So yeah, the property taxes in the last few months it's not much. Yes, sir. No problem. Yes, sir. If you did not want to use any fund balance at all, yeah, you would have to raise it by. Yes, sir. Right. So in the last year, yes, sir. Yeah. That's why I say the last year. Creedmoor is in a position where we were operating behind for so long, and everything just continued to rise, and the prices are steady, continue to rise. We don't have new revenue in the city that we can generate. There's not new commercial buildings that are being built. We can only a home is really not going to bring you as much revenue as you think it is. So a few homes, one or two, is not going to increase our tax base by a whole lot. So until the city experience a wide expansion of many things coming into the city, we're going to be in this predicament probably every year until we experience that new property tax on that property, until they are in the Granville County system. We know we have Mavis coming in the next year, so that's gonna be additional revenue that we're gonna see once they finish construction and is recognized by the county. But other than that, that's it until really Saguasa finish their project and things really get to moving. And then down the road, possibly, if things are looking good, the city can address it and decrease the tax rate. But right now, that's the position that we're in. Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah. You're right.
Okay, so here's the skinny. At one time, when the city's tax rate was 70 cents, if it was 70 cents today, we'd be flush. And every year, or at least every election year, they cut the tax by 2 cents, by 3 cents, by 2 cents. And people would tell us, you can't just keep cutting taxes. Then we sold the water system. And when we sold the water system, we got a good buck for it, and we became kind of flush. And then every year, rather than raise the taxes, we'd spend the money. And we spent a lot of that money for good. We spent the community center. I mean, it went in a lot of good places. But we kept a fund balance that was ridiculously high, and we spent all that money. And we were spending money that was laying in the bank that wasn't going to be replaced once we spent it on stuff that was still going to be there at the same cost the following year. So here we are, and I think that the sooner we address where we are where we are. The building next door because of it, the community center. So there's been a lot of great good done with it. But the bottom line is now we have to get to which they've been telling us for years, to a tax rate and increase it so much per year till we get to a tax rate that's going to be sustainable. And I just point that out as this budget goes on. I don't know whether the city manager has a big enough hammer to cut some of these people's stuff more. I don't know where that can be, but we have to realize where we are. But thank you for the presentation. It's good.
Any more questions? Any more questions?
I'm going to ask Lee to give me an opportunity here to cover one item I missed on my list, fire protection, when I went down through the increases and all. The FY '27 budget includes the city's ladder truck payment of $49,750. This is a 10-year agreement that will expire on July 31 of 2029. That will be a 10-year we've been paying on the ladder truck. The Fire and Rescue Services agreement with the fire department will increase by $6,083 from $391,912 to FY '26 to $397,995 for '27. This is a 5-year contract that we've had that expires on June 30 of next year, '27. So that will be up again for renewal and discussion by the board, but I want to be sure I touched on that. I missed earlier.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes, sir. And I just want to make sure I'm clear, Mayor Pro Tem Wilkins. So you're saying that we're going to have to cut not $951, but $951,000? Okay, I missed it, I'm sorry. That's what you're saying we have to cut?
For a balanced budget.
Okay, gotcha.
Or raise taxes.
Thank you.
Any more questions? All right. So some key departmental requests I want to point out here that were of some significance in the budget request. In the police department, there were 8 personnel reclassifications totaling $51,582, so that being the salary increase associated with those reclassifications and the benefits that went along with it. And the telecommunicators reorganization from moving it from the city to the county was $147,000. Public Works Director requested a storage shed that totaled $14,900. Snow plow that will be attached to the M9 vehicle, totaling $8,400, and to close in one of the bays at the Public Works shop, totaling $6,500. In the community development budget, there were funds allocated for the construction of the Main Street parking lot of $110,000, the Lake Rogers Dam repair of $25,000, and a new software, GovWell, totaled $30,000. So that was the implementation of the software and the cost of the software. And in administrative services, as the city manager stated, and will be presented by the Administrative Services Director, the compensation study, total $17,500. In the manager's recommendation so far, we decided not to fund the 8 personnel reclassifications, still keeping the $147,000 for the telecommunicators reorganization, and Public Works not funding the snow plow, and be closing in up in one of the bays at Public Workshop. In the community development budget, the Main Street parking lot, we're moving those funds for the time being and address it when it comes down to actual time to do construction and do the budget limit necessary, and when we will have an actual dollar figure for that project. The same for the Lake Rogers Dam repair, until that time comes and we actually have an exact figure for what that will cost. And the not funding the GovWell software. Still keeping the compensation study of $17,500, and in this budget a 3% COLA totaling $104,545.
Commissioner Kaczynski.
Okay, so the telecommunications reorganization, I thought we were gonna be saving money when we made this change.
This total that you see here is just the cost of what that would be, the county would be charging us. So the cost compared to the actual, not removing one position, and also the association with the cost to run that telecommunications and within the PD department, it actually came out at a wash if you look at all the numbers and what's combined. So it's not a total increase of $147,000. That's just what the county is charging us.
Okay.
But overall, that it's really a wash once we look at the position, not funding the one position and the costs that are associated with those telecommunicators.
All right. So the Public Works crossing out the snow plow and the closing in the bay, and community development, the Main Street parking lot until we get a price, Lake Rogers Dam. What is GovWell software? This is the first I'm hearing of this.
That is a permitting software, online permitting software, that community development wanted to use. Citizens would be able to go.
Yeah, it's scratched until we need it.
To fill out their applications and actually pay for those permits. Mr. Furnace can give you more in detail on what they offer, but that's ultimately what it's for, online permitting.
Okay. I know that at our last year's budget meeting, and some of you will probably remember that I challenged every department head to start applying for grants. So some of these things that are on this list that we have to cross off, possibility, they could get them with a grant. The storage shed could probably be gotten with a grant. I would imagine that some of the other 2 items under community development, at least one of them, would possibly come under an economic development grant of some sort. So I just I'd like to know, I guess from Mr. Turner, when you get a chance, I'd like to know how many of these departments have applied for grants for these issues that they have on this request list. Because we can't keep taking it from the citizens. We can't. There are grants out there. I hear it at every single meeting I go to. So-and-so city got $300,000 grant. This other city got a $100,000 grant. And the community parks and rec is applying for grants. But that's the only, I know the police department has applied for grants during the year, but some of these things could be gotten through grants. So I hate to say no to these things and see them red line crossed off, but there are grants out there for a lot of these things.
Any further questions before I go to the next slide? Other key expenditures, each year for the last few years, and I believe at the last conference I went to, they are about to change the structure on how they address the retirement rate. But under the current structure that they have now, the retirement rate is projected to increase by 1 basis point each fiscal year. So general employees went from 14.35% in this current fiscal year to 15.10%, law enforcement from 16.08% to 17.10%. And as stated earlier, this is the first year of the debt payment for the new construction, totaling $252,602. On to stormwater. Estimated stormwater budget is $442,031. And stormwater is broken up into 3 separate departments with budgets within that current one budget. The first being admin and planning, $269,528. Repairs and improvements, $153,003. And service payments of $19,500. Using no fund balance.
Yes, so what is service payments? I'm sorry.
Those are the payments like to the county, their fees that they charge, those type of fees. And I stated no fund balance. Power bill, estimated and proposed budget is $200,000 using $0 of fund balance. Key things to point out in this is the Douglas Drive and Holly Creek Lane roadway study and the sidewalk gap design, this one being the Main Street segment. So those funds are appropriated in the requested budget for next fiscal year. Any questions? And that is it for this presentation, first presentation. Next, yeah, after we go back and make some more adjustments based on you all's directions and bring it back to you at the May work session. And next, I guess before we get into any questions, Ms. Logley can go into her presentation regarding the compensation study. If you all want to talk about that first before you get into the actual what you all would like for us to do, go forward to addressing this request and bring back to you a revised budget.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes, sir, and I'm not sure, Lee, if this might be more for Mike, I'm not sure, but looking at the list of all the things that were cut from, well, yeah, actually, that Mike cut from the budget, thank you, Barbara. Lee did that. Okay, thank you, Lee. Thank you. Just looking at that list, I'm just wondering, are there things on there that could be considered critical to our operation? I'm sure we need them all. I completely understand that, but understanding that there will have to be some prioritization.
The things in red have been cut.
Understood, but I'm saying on that list.
No, we already have a software program that we use now that tracks the information that this other system that's being proposed cost significantly more, but we do have a software system right now. What was it called? iWorks. We do have something that, and the public, CDO uses it, Public Works uses it, Parks and Rec uses it. So, anyway, this is just a newer system that's coming along. A lot of people are using it. Mike got a lot of good recommendations to pick this up and run with it, but, you know, if we can't afford it this year, we'll push it back to next year and see if we can do it then. That's my theory. If we can't do it this year, we're not gonna forget about it, we'll just push it forward.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to think about, you know, maybe we may find some opportunities. But if these things that have already been cut, if they were prioritized in some way, maybe that would be helpful information down the road.
Okay,
And I'm not right this second.
I understand.
Yeah.
Discuss these things with department heads, so they have an input in what they would rather push out a year. Just say that. So
Yeah, okay.
it's their input, it's not something that I just arbitrarily cut without some discussion with the folks.
Okay.
Okay, and.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Grants, I know, Parks and Rec, of course, got that big grant they write, cardiac grant. PD just finished a grant with Duke Energy because they're offering money to help us with storm planning. So we've asked for another episode or tabletop exercise to do an ice and snowstorm, which it's about $5,500 cost. We'll get a full grant to be able to do that. I feel good about that. I know CDO's been working to get grants, so everybody in every department know, but, anyway. We'll take out the big hammer as, what was it, Ed said, see what else we can find. I mean, there are things out there. I mean, you know, the COLA's on the table, there's things out there. It may hurt, it may pinch you a little, but there's things still out there. You know, the salary equity study's been 5 years, it's time for another one. We can do it or we can push it out a year. I mean, there's things that we can push, but, you know, to stay on track, to stay equitable so we don't lose folks from here somewhere else. We need to keep those salaries in balance. You know, for example, the Watson Street property that we've just purchased, July the 1st, we budgeted $8,000 to do the testing, abatement, demo, parking lot, the things there that could be put on hold or pushed out. But again, some of the reduction in legal, we may even push it back from 70 back to 60. But you know, we'll just have to keep digging and looking and talking to staff about where we can trim and push and, anyway.
Commissioner Kaczynski?
So, I'm gonna make a plea to the board here, this Main Street parking lot that has been crossed off here. We have been promising the handicapped people in Creedmoor a parking lot that they can use on that side of the street for the 6 years I've been in office. And every year this gets pushed. Or we had to wait for signatures to be done. I know that. That took a long time, and the two parties involved gave us the easements for it. So, I'm really passionate about this parking lot for our handicapped people because we are not treating them fairly. And the businesses on Main Street on that side of the street, they have no handicapped customers because there's no access for them. So I know that you said this is not because we don't have a price yet.
Yeah, so technically it's not a cut. Right now we just don't have, this was just.
That's not included in it yet.
That's not really accurate.
Okay.
Right now, I believe that it is out for RFP to get the actual. The design work there's RFP, so we haven't even got to that phase of construction yet. So I feel more comfortable of bringing you an exact number when we get to that time.
Okay.
It has been bidded out and we have that exact amount. So the main goal was after we were meeting is to present to you an accurate budget with not placeholders.
Okay.
So this was kind of a placeholder.
Okay.
The design work framework, the RFP is due in deadline again.
We're getting it back from RK&K. We have, it's out there, but we need the design package back from RK&K.
So the design work actually can be done, depending on the time that we receive it, can be done in this fiscal year.
What's the deadline on that package? It's been 3 months.
It didn't have a deadline. It's under task order right now.
We need
So
to,
that design working, depending on when it comes to be presented, it can be done in this fiscal year. And so, but this was more so towards construction work.
this year, and then something that we promised the handicapped citizens, we're possibly gonna pull it. And that bothers me a lot. You can't raise taxes and say, oh, and by the way, give us more money, but we're gonna take this away. So that's the way it looks to me. That's the way it looks
Yeah,
to
I mean,
me.
yeah, on here, it looks like we're taking it.
Yeah.
Our thought process is just bring it to you at a later time. We're not cutting the project is already in the works.
Okay.
So we're not, we know that the two parties have agreed, so we know that the project is on the table. We just want to come to you with a more accurate number.
Thank you, dear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
How does the board feel about cutting the outside agencies, $10,500? I mean, we're looking for $970,000, $957,000. Anyway, I don't need an answer, I'm just saying that it's gonna pinch, it's gonna hurt some folks here and there, but we'll go at it again and bring you some new numbers.
You mean the outside agencies like Families Living Violence-Free, that list?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, some years ago, Oxford put theirs on hold, they just stopped them all and put them on hold because so many people were coming in asking, and they just could not support them all. So they wanted to stop and revamp and kind of reprioritize what the community's needs are before they went back and opened those gates again, so.
I think this list has grown, hasn't it? This list has grown over the years.
Well, it grew by the Crime Stoppers last year, it's the first group that I've known in a while. I saw it before, about four. I mean, we could look at reducing some of those, or keeping them where we are. I mean, there's some different options, but there's lots of opportunity, we just gotta get in and work it again. We wanted you to see what your original requests were, and some preliminaries to get some feedback from the board as to what you want us to focus on. No tax increase and its least amount possible from fund balance.
Any more questions from us for Ms. Lockwood?
We talked about it for a while.
There's Camille, hi Camille.
Post-2027 compensation study, Ms. Camille Lockley.
Hi, I'm Camille Lockley. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. So I'm bringing to you guys the compensation study, as Mike had mentioned, it's been about 5 years. I sent out the RFPs to 8 different places, I got 5 back, the ranges should be on there. I'm not for sure what that, okay, what do you want to go to?
The spreadsheet.
Yeah. Thank you. So it shows, how much they were, how much it was, the location that these companies were. After speaking with Mike and Lee, of course, their option would have been the Max Group. They're local. They provided a price of $17,500. The whole purpose of this is to establish a fair and suitable compensation system to support the workforce, stability, enhance employee satisfaction, and position the organization as an employer of choice within the region. The objective is ensure internal equity, access market competitiveness, improve employee retention and recruitment, align compensation with organizational strategies, and minimize any compliance risk. And that means like just making sure that everybody's where they should be in their pay grade. Also, the benefits of this is, again, enhancing employee morale, their trust, strengthening recruitment and retention, reduce risk related to pay inequity or noncompliance, and promote a culture of fairness and accountability. A well-executed compensation study is essential for maintaining a competitive and equitable workforce. By investing in this process, the organization demonstrates its commitment to responsible governance, employee well-being, and long-term operational excellence.
Any discussion? Any questions? Commissioner Gazinski?
So Camille, being the head of HR, how far out do you think we're that far off right now? I know we've worked real hard to stay, and you've been good about keeping us on track.
Well, because other agents, we look at the areas around us, they just did one, so then their costs move up, and then ours are, it's there, but it's not where we could be, even locally. Outside the agency, of course, your bigger agencies are gonna be more, but that's expected, but even the local agencies like Butner, Oxford, looking at Granville.
So I think I know that Butner just did one.
Yes.
I didn't know Oxford had done one.
They did one, I talked to Melissa, they did one, recently, I don't know exactly what their date was, but I reached out to them to see who they used when I did the RFP, I get on the list first to see.
Okay. How has our turnover been?
Well, once we get to full capacity, then people decide they're gonna leave for whatever reason, so family issues or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
About maybe 5%, it just varies.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any more questions? You good? I don't think there's no more questions. All right. Anybody have anything else for the board? From the board? Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
It's been a motion to adjourn this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Oh, I put my tissue away. I'm gonna need it. You can do the phone. No.
Okay.
Okay, right back up.
Yeah.
Oh, I was at rehab this morning. I was at rehab this morning. And the girl asked me, so how you feeling, Mr. Gleason? I said, sitting here, I'm feeling really good.